So now I'd like to introduce Andrea, who's just going to give an example of what it actually does look like engaging with this through youth with work in practice. So let me hand over to you, Andrea.
Thanks,
Andrea is
Betsy.
a youth worker from Stirling Council.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, as Betsy said, I'm Andrea. I've been working with Stirling Council as a youth worker for many years, and just in the past 2.5 years, I've been consciously involved in LfS, but probably involved throughout my whole career, but not really consciously. So we'll cover that later on. Yeah, can I get the next slide, please? Yeah, so I support a group of young people who we've called the climate ambassadors of Stirling, and that's young people from all of the high schools across Stirling in the senior phase. A selection of young people from the senior phase who sign up to be climate ambassadors, and we just wanted to give them a space and time to come together, and we knew when we allowed that there would be great stuff that happens from it. So these are our aims. That's what we set out 2 years ago when we first were recruiting young people, and we've stayed quite consistent to these aims in the time that we've been working with the young people. We've got I think next, maybe see what the next slide is. Yeah, so here's a photo of some of the young folks. So round about the target, the archery target board, that was we were aiming for net zero. That was back in just before COP26 happened in 2021. And some of the young people in this photo were also the COP26 local champions that we were working with Naomi and YouthLink at that time. So that's where we started, and then we last year we had some more young people, and then this year we've got the big photo on the bottom. So we've been having more young people come on board, and we've got all the secondary schools in Stirling have got climate ambassadors who are working with us. And the programme is really, it's not to take away from what's already happening in schools. It's additionality to what might be happening, and it's connecting up for the young people to work on the projects that they determine, and you'll hear a wee bit about them in a minute or two. So we'll go to the next slide, please. So you've been hearing about the 4 C's that were part of the Learning for Sustainability framework. Well, we were in there first of all, and we went bigger than 4. We've got way more than that. I think after we've been on residential this week, we've got 10 plus C's now. So we met a couple of years ago, and we just tasked the young people with what skills and qualities will you need, and how will we work together to ensure success for what we're trying to do. And we did give them, we did point them towards words starting with C. So yeah, that's what we were doing, and we came up with all of these different ways of working with each other. So, and a statement, I'll just read it out. So young people building a community of action by being collaborative, curious, connected, creative, critical thinkers with strong communication skills, courageous and committed to compassionate change. And that's what guides how we work with each other, and the young people work with each other, and how we work with other people who want to get on board and partner with us. Yeah, and I would say it's quite addictive once you start. You'll hear me mentioning other words beginning with C as we go through this. So that was how we set up, and that's what guides us in what we do. Great. Next slide, please. So the priorities, and these came from campfire conversations. These were the catalysts of what this would be, and we're not limited to these 3 priorities, but these are the 3 main priorities that the young people identified as what they wanted to take action on first of all, not to be stuck on these forever, but first of all. And the first one you'll see is bins. So that's reducing waste in our schools and also improving our recycling within our school setup. The next one is about fast fashion, and we've got a project called Dress to Waste Less. And it was going to be quite a narrow project, but it's grown arms and legs as these things often do. And it's really about hiring. It started out being hiring formal wear from one of our partner organisations, Transition Stirling and the Reuse Hub. And the young people have set up a project with them that's all about, not needing to buy new dresses or buy new outfits for proms and parties, but being able to use what's already there to hire it. And yeah, we've got people from primary schools and nurseries wanting to come on board as well, so that it's much more, it's growing arms and legs, and it's a great thing. So it's all about reducing the need for buying things new. So it's keeping things going round and round in circles. And then we've got some tree planting. So biodiversity is something that's really important. And this is improving biodiversity in our school grounds. So those are the priorities the main priorities that we've got. We've got extra ones on top of that, but those are the main focal points for us this year. Can I get the next slide, please? So what have we been doing in the time that we've been working? We've been doing lots of different things. Residentials have been kind of the launch pad for lots of our activity. I've been really fortunate to head up to a local outdoor centre, Dunans, up in Aberfoyle. I'm just back from there this week, and that's a great opportunity, doing activities up there, staying over, eating all our meals together, spending time together. Really just brings the team together and gives us lots of opportunities for conversations, for people connecting up, so that we can, go forward into the work that needs done. So we've got some photos of doing that. We've also taken part in consultations, and that was us taking part in the consultation that Naomi's pulling together just now, because fast fashion was one of our areas of focus. You'll see a photo there of a young person weaving. So we went and did some weaving, which is completely the opposite of fast fashion, very mindful activity. We were using recycled materials as well. We've got a photo of some young people who headed through to Edinburgh. We didn't get tickets to go and see Greta this summer, but we did get tickets to go and see Michaela Loach when she was doing her talk at the Edinburgh Book Festival. And actually we got more than we bargained for, because the young people got to be part of a walkout and a protest against greenwashing. So great learning experience for all of us in that. And next slide, please. Yeah, you'll see we've got some young people in high-vis vests. We were at an event and it was bringing together youth voice all across Stirling, young people from nurseries, primary schools, all the secondary schools, and the climate ambassadors were there and wearing their high-vis in their health and safety of the planet and people role, interacting, telling people about what they were doing, and also finding out what other people were doing that just connected things up. And that's our Dress to Waste Less project. So the Reuse Hub has got lots of donations, and the young people have built together. There's a website in progress, and they've got an Instagram, and some publicity going out. And we do lots of planning about what the next things are that we want to be going forward with. There's other bits and pieces that we've been doing throughout, interrogating the council plans, some online meetings to facilitate bringing people together, Friday get-togethers, cooking together, learning some vegan recipes, all sorts of things. So lots of opportunities to connect. Great, can I get the next slide, please? Okay, so our strengths, if you click onto that. Without a doubt, the main strength that we have is young people, because they it's constantly so inspiring, and as a youth worker, it's a real privilege to get to do this as my job, to work with young people, to hear what they want to do and know and how they're going to go about it. We had 21 young people away on Monday and Tuesday, wet, tired after lots of great activities. We were doing some planning and just seeing the enthusiasm even at the end of a long 2 days in and their ambition and what they're going to do and how they're going to support each other in it was really inspiring. But lots of connections is something that we also have here, and some of that comes from a place of weakness, because actually I'm not very skilled. I don't have a lot of knowledge in this field, and I certainly didn't have very much when I started out in this. So I needed to rely on colleagues and on people who to bring their skills into it, and that's what we keep doing. We just keep inviting people in to join with us in this, and people are really keen. We've got no shortage of people who want to give us a hand out, to come alongside us, to work with the young people, and it's really great. And we're all working on shared goals and ambitions, so it's easy to find people to come in and about us, and to make it as good a programme as it can be. We're well connected within education as well, and that helps us a lot in terms of, you know, we're all in this together. So, and the next slide. But we have got lots of challenges as well. We're working with young people who are really busy. They've got lots of stuff happening in school and in their families. We've got young carers. We've got young people who are working, volunteering. So getting times to meet is really a bit of a challenge. And I think it's one of these things that we just have to accept, that we're not going to get all of the people all of the time. We'll get some of the people some of the time, and we need to work with what we've got and try and communicate really well, so that people who can't make things can still be in the loop, and working at different paces in different places sometimes is what we need to do. We've got a big geographical spread, which is great, and it's what we wanted, and we designed it this way, but actually, yeah, it's different school times and buses not come in when other people need to be getting home. These are challenges that we work with. Young people have got huge ambition, and the pace at which they would like to see change is right, because we need to be moving at an accelerated pace, but actually sometimes things take longer than we would like, not just for young people, for all of us. I mean, it's just trying to manage that expectation, but also push on and realize that actually, yeah, we are making progress, and that's what we need to do. And then funding to resource all the ambition that we have continues to be an issue, and that's not just funding for youth work, but actually lots of our colleagues who would be really keen to be working with us. Everybody's feeling the pinch. There are budget cuts everywhere. It's not just within councils, it's within the charity sector, third sector. Everyone's feeling it, and yeah, it's a constraint that we need to work creatively within, but also, yeah, have that understanding that actually sometimes we're all on the same side, but the budget's not always there. So what else can we be doing to influence how we get budget for the things that really matter to us? Next slide. So I'm not going to spend much time on this. These are the C's that were the opportunities that the LfS strategy gives us. There's lots of more things that we would want to do with partners, and that we hopefully will get to. There's folk on this call today who I think, oh, I need to speak to them. The curriculum one's a really interesting one for me, because I don't feel very comfortable with setting curriculums, but actually one of the things that we do recognise that we want to do is think about how the young people are learning and what they're getting out of it, and something Julie referred to, the 17 development goals. There's an organisation called the Inner Development Goals, and they are all about the qualities that we need as people to meet the 17 development goals, and that's an opportunity that we really want to lean into and find out ways how we can link the inner development goals, the youth work, outcomes and skills framework all together, and be much better at evaluating and demonstrating the impact that we're having within our project. And then the next slide, we're getting near the end, folks, don't worry. Okay, so this is the wider team, the work of the wider team that I'm part of, and a wee while ago, I did ask the team about all the LfS work that we were involved in at a team meeting, and I have to say that they didn't rush me with all their answers, but I hadn't given them. I just had asked, what LfS stuff are you involved in? But then when I said, what are we doing that is what's the work that we're doing to build a socially just, sustainable and equitable society? And I showed the Wordle, well then all the different examples of everything that we're doing, because it's all that youth workers do. We're all working in with this all the time. It's the golden thread that runs through all that we do. So here we've got a youth worker out doing some beekeeping with someone. We've got lots of wheelbarrows. So one of my colleagues is involved in a project that is all about skills development for employability skills. And they're doing that in a really natural environment, learning about working in nature, biodiversity, tool repair, keeping everything going for longer than it might do if you didn't look after all these kinds of things. All the work that we do with our youth voice, democracy and citizen stuff. So we've got these are some MSYPs down in the bottom who are candidates who to become MSYPs and doing outdoor learning and coming up with all their plans and their manifestos for what they want to do. We've got some young folk heading off on a voyage of discovery with the Ocean Youth Trust. We've got a building, the side of a building that was pretty disused, and that space wasn't used. That's been upgraded, and there's not plants in that photograph, but last time I was up, it was full of flowers and vegetables and fruit. And I could go on and on and on, because everything that we do, all the work that we do in schools to ensure that young people get the best chance that they can, and helping them to understand the rights that they have and what we should be doing towards it. Our youth forums, in our youth clubs, we're making things sustainably. We're bringing in partners to talk about making bug hotels and things like that. So we do it all the time. You do it all the time. So I think it's just having that understanding of language that this is what we do. We all do LfS and youth work. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. You have put that so brilliantly, and so many inspiring ideas too, that I think probably have sparked ideas in others in the audience. I'm looking down at the chat box and I can't see any questions in there at the minute. But if anybody wants to raise their hand and ask a question of either of the presenters, then now's your chance. We've maybe got just a couple of minutes to do it. And I'm seeing a question from Mark. Mark, do you want to unmute yourself? And we've got a very brief time for questions before we go into.
Yeah, it's a very brief one. I've put a range of different kind of resources that hopefully people can see. I think what we've not really touched on is the kind of critical and political engagement, which is obviously the relationship to the human rights, etc., which are obviously huge elements of this. I know that it's such a massive issue, but this is one that tends to get marginalised. And as a community educator, I mean, I'm in a class at the moment, literally, and talking to first-year students at community education, talking about the SDG goals, and there's probably about 10% of them know, and a number of those students, that's a class of 15 at the moment, a number of those have just come out of school. So, you know, my experience is that we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm really interested in what I would call LfS otherwise, which is, you know, the issue around net zero, the issues around decolonialism, and the issues around the climate justice and reparations and things like that. So a lot to talk about, but for me, those are really, really important issues.
Thanks for that question, Mark. Have you directed that at Andrea or Julie? Or
yeah, no, I'm interested in, you know, like I say, Andrea's experience with the young people in terms of awareness, or even the confidence amongst professionals and youth work staff to engage with and kind of raise these issues, and whether we need to put more in place to make practitioners more confident about some of the more critical and difficult conversations.
Andrea, I don't know if you want to respond to that. You certainly mentioned that building a socially just, sustainable and equitable society was at the heart of what was happening throughout your team.
Yeah, and I think it is what we're doing. I think, Mark, you asking if we're trained enough to handle the complexity of holding it all in tension. Sometimes not all of these things fit well together, but yeah, I think I know that there's a building racial literacy programme that the Education Scotland have got out on offer just now, and there's lots of good tools round about that. Yeah, I think there's probably more to be done within that. Julie, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, probably just to agree with you both, though. I think it's definitely an area where we need to kind of collectively do more around that. I like personally, I find some of the political literacy stuff really difficult sometimes. I mean, being in Education Scotland, we're classed as civil servants, so you know we have lots of discussions around how that fits with community development and the kind of principles of political literacy and things like that. And yeah, picking up on what Andrea was saying there, the Building Racial Literacy programmes had some really, really great feedback from people who've been involved in it previously. And I know it's been open again for registrations. I think registrations might have closed now, and so if you've registered for that, you should hear soon. But yeah, I think there's definitely something around building the conversation that all these aspects are learning for sustainability, and there's lots and lots that are CLD. And yeah, probably you said golden thread, Andrea, like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And Callum, I see you've got your hand up, but I'm just aware that I wanted to give time for everybody to get into smaller groups and have a discussion. So if you're okay with this, Callum, I think if we move now into smaller group discussions, and if your question hasn't been answered, then we can come back to it in the plenary if you're happy with that.